Bubble watch. It's time for bubble watch. Bubble watch, folks. How's the bubble looking, Bennett?
I think you got to win the conference tournament. And I know, so I actually think JMU fans and like some national media are getting angrier and angrier about the fact that JMU could win 30 games and not get in.
I'm seeing more national people like pick it up and they're like, what's happening in Harrisonburg?
Maybe they get in. I don't know. I don't see it happening because they don't have any good wins. And I don't like if you take
Michigan State.
You take off the purple and gold glasses. Michigan State's 17-12. They've lost.
If you ignore their best win, they have no good wins. Come on, man. They are Michigan State.
But Michigan State's like a 10 seed. Michigan State's not like an
yeah, and we're an 11, therefore a good win.
It's a quad 1 win, but it's like, they don't have anything outside of Michigan State. I don't think any team that they've beaten anymore is inside the KenPom top 100. Akron just dropped out. Cool. They don't have any Q2 wins anymore. That one lost. I think Louisiana was and moved to Q3. They have 1 win against quad 1 and quad 2. All of their other wins are quad 3, quad 4. I think they have 20 quad 4 wins and then a non-division 1 win.
You know how
there's just nothing on the resume.
How awesome that App State game would have been to win at App. That's a quad 1 win. Would have been. The one at App though is a quad 1 win. Granted, the one at home's a quad 2 win, so you're kind of your point of they only have 1 quad 1 and 2 win. Kind of go, yeah. They have a terrible resume. So you think in your mind there's no chance that if they make it to the Sun Belt Conference tournament final and lose by 3 to App State on a buzzer beater. And I know I'm talking in wild hypotheticals of what if this, that, and the other. All of that has to happen. Is there a chance that they get in the NCAA tournament?
I would say there's like a slim chance, depending on what else happens with the bubble and how the committee views like metrics. Like JMU's strength of record is good. Their net is pretty good. Their KenPom's fine. Like their metrics are not bad.
But their SOS is terrible.
Strength of schedule sucks. Like it's sub 300 non-conference on KenPom. That's 340 out of like whatever it is, 360 teams or however many there are now. But it's one of the like 25 worst non-conference schedules in college basketball. And I know there are so many people that love to be like, look, they didn't know Buffalo was going to suck when it was scheduled, or they thought some of these teams, they thought Kent State would be better. That's all true, but it shouldn't matter for them, their resume. It's not like the committee's not going to let them in because JMU thought Buffalo was going to be good.
Could you imagine if I took an AP class in high school and I got a D and I was like, but I took the class. You got to give me some credit for trying. And it's like, well, no, it still didn't work out for you. And it's like, but I tried so hard. Give me the B.
They look the part of an NCAA tournament team. I think they would play well if they got into the tournament. I think they're deserving. I also think they're going to hurt themselves with the strength of schedule. When you're looking at a team that doesn't have any or has 1 quad 1 win, no quad 2 wins, it's a challenge.
Yeah. And you said their non-conference strength of schedule was one of the worst, one of the 25 worst. It doesn't get much better when you bring in conference too. So I think they go from one of the 25 worst to one of the 50 worst schedules when you also include the Sun Belt portion of it. They don't have the schedule to be like, to point to the 30 wins and be like, but we have 30 of them. Okay. I don't think there is a precedent though for leaving a 30-win team out. I don't think that's ever happened.
That it's so rare to have.
Like, this is where I struggle with it, right? This has never happened before. So does the committee want to make this an example of it where it's like, you have to have better wins? Or do you think they go, but you did win 30 games. You only lost 3 at that point. If you lose to App State in the championship, 4, you've lost 4 games. You're 30-4.
I mean, I hope they get in. I just don't think they will. If they do, I think it would be almost guaranteed that they're playing in the first 4 in Dayton.
How much did those 2 losses against Georgia State and Coastal Carolina, where in both of them in the second half with under 10 minutes to go in both games, they had
2 wins.
What did I say?
2 losses.
They felt like a lot. Man, I'm really bad today with my.
You're hating on them today.
But both of those wins, you had a 20-point lead in the second half with under 10 minutes to go.
It was
how different is this conversation if they had ballooned that up to like a 30-point win?
They teased, right? They teased with those giant margins that would really boost the metrics, and then didn't end up winning by a gazillion. So, I mean, we'll see what happens in the couple Sunbelt tournament games before the final, assuming they win those games. I think they're a deserving team. I also think there's a decent chance none of that matters and they just punch their ticket, because I think they're probably the best team in the conference.
Yeah, unless Justin Abson blocks 15 shots again.
See if they run back that same game plan. I would like to see that final again.
I would too.
I think it'd be a great game.
I would be on the edge of my seat the entire time.
Yeah,
and I would be yelling things at the television every time they drove into the lane.
Yeah. I guess my last point on Bubble Watch here is if they play App again and lose to App, it's tough to be like, our schedule gets better in the Sun Belt, and then be like, because of this team, and they swept us 3 times, one in our place, one in their place, one on a neutral. I think that would be really tough, where you're like, I think they're 0-1 in quad 2 now, because they still have a quad 2 loss. So they'd be like 1-3 or something against quad 1 and 2. That doesn't look great.
No, not at all. That's a good point. And also a point I want to get back to is, man, if Southern Miss had been without Andre Gerbello for that game, does that change anything?
Yeah, you avoid like the terrible loss, and then you could be like, if you only lose to App, you're like, our only losses were to one team, and that one team is like in the field and beat Auburn. Like, I think that would help you too. So there's so many like shoulda, coulda, woulda. But okay, here we go. Who wins the Sun Belt Conference Tournament, men's?
James Madison.
I like that. Who do they beat?
I think it's JMU and App in the final, and I think JMU wins by like 10.
Really?
I think JMU, maybe I'm being a little boisterous. Maybe I'm being a little too, maybe I'm looking at this game with my purple tinted glasses on. You've played them twice. You know what doesn't work, right? Like, you know what doesn't work. Please don't do that again. Plus, JMU has a little X factor in their back pocket that they haven't had the first 2 games. I'm not saying he's hot, folks, but I'm saying he just dropped 16 on the Chanticleer's head and went 4 for 9 from deep. That's right. MG3, Michael Green III, he's back. First game, all conference time, where he had more than 2 threes made.
He's back.
And if JMU's got Michael Green going 4 for 9 from deep, it's over. They win.
They feel like a team that should be playing in the NCAA tournament.
I will be heartbroken. My fandom will destroy me if they lose to App in the final again.
And I do think the first couple rounds have a chance to be really interesting, because it feels almost like a foregone conclusion that it'll be JMU App. Like, one of those 2 teams, if not both, are going to like face an early deficit against one of these teams and have to find it in them. Because it's easy to get tense in one of these games. Like, if you're playing Georgia Southern on the road in the regular season, you're down 15, like, certainly easy to get tense. I think the St. Mary's team here that's on the bottom quadrant had 28 wins actually before the tournament. So maybe that was regular.
There's no precedent for leaving a
the most wins a team has ever had, like D1 wins, and missed the NCAA tournament, is 28.
So and JMU would have 29.
Yeah, they would have 29 D1 wins if they win the next 2 and then lose the Sun Belt final.
One last thing I want to hit on before we move on to women's basketball here. Do you wish the Sun Belt adopted the WCC, the West Coast Conference's approach to how they do their tournament? And just so everyone's aware, how they do the tournament, the 1 and 2, it's essentially like a ladder where the 1 and 2 seeds start in the semifinal. And then from there on out, everyone, the 4, the 5 get the bye into the quarters, the 6 and 7 get a bye into the first round, I guess they call it. And then there's like essentially a play-in between like the 8, 9, 10, and 11. Where the 8 and 9, so it's a ladder system where if you're an 8, 9 seed, you have to win 4 straight games to get to the championship.
I actually like that. It doesn't make for like a particularly entertaining conference tournament necessarily, and obviously favors the crap out of the regular season top teams. I just think that makes sense because you're trying to get your best team or one of your best teams into the NCAA tournament where they could potentially win games and make the conference money. That feels like it should be valued. Also, it's I don't know, like if you win your regular season title or finish as a top 2 seed, you should have a significant advantage in terms of getting to the NCAA tournament.
I agree. I put it out on Twitter as like a potentially hot take, and it seemed like it actually wasn't that hot of a take, and most people agreed with it. One person, Middle Tennessee beat writer Sam Doughton, said the format makes it the WCC format of not having your top 2 teams play until the semifinal round makes it harder to sell tickets, and it gets significantly harder logistically the more teams that are in the league, how you kind of set that up going outwards. I think you just cap it and you only let, let's say, 8 teams into the postseason tournament. The goal for these tournaments is to get your best team into the NCAA tournament so that in the end, you can then have the best opportunity to win a game or 2 in the NCAA tournament, thus making a lot of money for your conference.
Yeah. Also, like the ticket stuff for the Sun Belt seems irrelevant. Like, I don't know how many JMU and App fans are really going to go to Pensacola to watch a championship on a Monday night.
Yeah. Imagine the atmosphere if this was in Roanoke.
Imagine if it was in Roanoke, but it's not. So I don't know. I don't care about like the conference tournament tickets. It seems different if you're like the ACC, where like all these teams are going to travel to watch like a great basketball tournament.
Yeah.
Like the Sun Belt's a little bit different, where it's like it's not great basketball and you're only going to watch your team.